You've seen the quote everywhere, on coffee mugs, in startup pitches, in resignation letters. Build your dream or someone will hire you to build theirs. Sounds empowering, but what if it's a trap? In this video, we'll unpack this viral quote, its murky origins, its seductive appeal, and the hidden damage it's caused. We'll explore how a simple phrase became the poster child of hustle culture and what it truly costs to chase a dream. Sometimes, motivation is just well-marketed pressure. Let's unwrap it. If you don't build your dream, someone will hire you to help build theirs. It's one of those quotes that seems to follow you everywhere. On Instagram carousels with sunset backdrops, in TikToks with lo-fi beats and time-lapse footage of laptops opening at dawn, printed on mugs at co-working spaces. Coaches use it to sell $5,000 mentorships. Entrepreneurs plaster it on their websites like a badge of honor. The message is seductive. Be your own boss. Build your dream. Don't waste your life helping someone else get rich. It's painted as a call to courage, and to freedom even. But it also subtly implies something darker, that if you're not building your dream, you're living someone else's. And worse, maybe you're failing without even realizing it. The power of the quote isn't just in what it says, it's in what it stirs. It speaks to that quiet, gnawing fear so many people carry, that they're wasting their one precious life. It pokes at the discomfort of the 9-to-5 grind, the anxiety of staying too long in one place, the suspicion that security is just another word for stagnation. The quote dares you to bet on yourself, and if you don't, it frames that choice as weakness. It recasts the familiar path, salary, benefits, structure, as a kind of spiritual surrender. It doesn't just inspire you to dream, it suggests that not dreaming big enough is its own kind of moral failure. That fear, that's what makes the quote stick. By the mid-2010s, the quote had gone viral, not once, but in waves. It showed up in startup pitch decks and keynote slides at tech conferences. Tim Ferriss didn't invent it, but his podcast vibe practically breathed it. LinkedIn influencers recycled it in daily posts. Reminder, you weren't born to build someone else's vision. Even job ads at startups used it to lure ambitious applicants. Join us, build something that matters. It's all over YouTube thumbnails, bootstrapped business blogs, and the opening lines of TEDx talks. It became a kind of mantra for the self-made era. Just vague enough to feel personal, just sharp enough to hit a nerve. Like many viral quotes, this one wears borrowed clothes. Some say it came from Dhirubhai Ambani, the legendary Indian industrialist who built Reliance Industries from nothing. Others credit Tony Gaskins, a motivational speaker who definitely used the quote, but likely didn't coin it. Then there's the Steve Jobs rumor, fitting but totally unverified. No speech, no interview, no writing, search all you want, no original source ever appears. It's a ghost quote passed around like a campfire story. But in the age of hustle, that doesn't seem to matter. Attribution is optional. What matters is that it feels right, and that feeling has consequences. So where did this quote actually come from? The closest known source is Tony Gaskins, a motivational speaker who began using the line in the mid-2000s. He said it on stage, in books, in interviews, and while he popularized it, there's no record that he claimed authorship. As for Dhirubhai Ambani or Steve Jobs, there's no trace, no speech, no article, no verified statement where either of them said anything close, but attaching the quote to these names gives it power. People are more likely to share it, believe it, act on it, and that's where things get interesting, because in today's world, who said something often matters more than whether it's even true. Quotes spread faster when they wear the right name tag. That's why half the internet thinks Einstein said things he never came close to saying, like, everyone is a genius, or imagination is more important than knowledge. It's marketing. Attach a profound thought to a famous thinker or a tech visionary, and suddenly it sounds like gospel. The hustle world is full of these borrowed phrases, stripped of context and supercharged by celebrity. A quote doesn't need to be real. It just needs to feel true and come with a name you trust. That's why this line stuck. Not because it's wise, but because it was packaged perfectly for ambition-hungry audiences. At its core, the quote creates a simple equation. Building your dream means starting your own business. Anything else? That's working for someone else's dream, and by extension, giving up on your own. It draws a clear, hard line. There's the entrepreneur, brave, visionary, in control. And there's the employee, passive, replaceable, stuck. It's a narrative that flattens real life into a binary. It doesn't account for collaboration, for working inside systems with purpose. It ignores people who find meaning in supporting something bigger than themselves. The quote presents a world where only one kind of dream counts, the one where you're the boss, alone at the top. This kind of framing works because it's sharp. It pushes you to choose a side, now. It tells you there's a window, and if you miss it, you'll be stuck forever. That urgency is magnetic, but it's also misleading. Real life is rarely binary. People build dreams slowly, in pieces, with setbacks and compromises. Security isn't the enemy. Sometimes it's the bridge that lets you take a real shot later. But binary motivation doesn't make space for that. It pressures you to jump, not plan. And that's where things start to crack, because if you believe the choice is all or nothing, you might bet everything on a dream that isn't ready yet. Scroll through Instagram or YouTube, and you'll find countless people telling the same story. They quit their job, chased their dream, and now they're thriving. But look closer, and another pattern emerges. People leaving stable work with no plan, no savings, no backup, just the promise that passion will pay off. They're cheered on by a culture that romanticizes the leap, not the landing. And when things fall apart, when the business fails or burnout sets in, there's silence. No viral reel about moving back home or taking a second job to make rent. Just a quiet sense of shame. Because when you're told failure means you didn't want it badly enough, where do you go from there? So what happens after the leap? After you decide not to build someone else's dream and go all in on your own, the quote makes it sound like the moment you choose yourself, the universe will meet you halfway. But in reality, the leap often leads straight into exhaustion, uncertainty, and loneliness. Freedom, as it turns out, is expensive, emotionally and financially, and many who chase the dream end up trading one kind of pressure for another. This is where the story diverges from the Instagram fairy tale. Because behind the scenes, a lot of people aren't living their dream. They're just trying to survive it. This is where we have to talk about what the quote doesn't tell you. By the mid-2010s, hustle had become a religion. Sleep when you're dead. Grind now, shine later. Everywhere you looked, the message was clear. If you're not building your empire 24/7, you don't want it bad enough. Voices like Gary Vaynerchuk fueled the movement, and quotes like, "Build your dream," were used like scripture. It wasn't just advice, it was identity. Entrepreneurs started glorifying 18-hour workdays, skipping meals, losing sleep, and calling it passion. The line between ambition and obsession blurred, and once that happened, anything less than burnout-level commitment started to look like weakness. This wasn't just motivation anymore, it was pressure disguised as purpose. This is where it turns toxic. Because that same quote, meant to empower individuals, started getting used by the very systems it was supposed to help people escape. Companies began telling employees, think like an owner. But there was no equity, no control, just more responsibility without reward. Influencers sold it as lifestyle branding. If you're not building something of your own, you're wasting your life. But what they were really selling was courses, merch, and influence. The quote became a tool, not to liberate people, but to extract more from them. It stopped being about building dreams and started being about pushing limits, not for your growth, for someone else's gain. And it worked, until people started breaking. In 2019, the World Health Organization officially recognized burnout as an occupational phenomenon. In the U.S., a staggering 77% of employees say they've experienced burnout at their jobs. And here's the twist. Among the self-employed, the numbers are even higher. When you are the boss, the worker, the accountant, the marketer, the pressure compounds. There's no off switch, no structure, no guaranteed paycheck. The dream can become a trap. And unlike traditional jobs, there's no HR department to complain to. When you burn out on your own dream, it feels personal, like you failed yourself. It's not just emotional, there's a financial cost too. According to the U.S. Small Business Administration, 1 in 5 small businesses fail in their first year. By year 5, nearly half are gone. Many of those founders went all in, quit their jobs, drained savings, borrowed from family, maxed out credit cards, believing the dream would pay off. Sometimes it does, but often it doesn't. And when it doesn't, people are left with more than disappointment. They're left with debt, stress, and silence, because we love to celebrate the risk takers, but we don't talk about the wreckage left behind when the risk doesn't work. That's the part the quote leaves out. For every glossy headline about someone who quit their job to follow their dream, there's a quieter, messier story that never makes it to social media. People who left behind stable careers to launch passion projects, only to watch them collapse. A former architect who opened a design firm and couldn't make payroll. A teacher who built an ed tech app, only to shut it down under a mountain of debt. One man said, "I loved my dream, but it didn't love me back." These aren't just financial losses, they're losses of identity, of confidence, of mental health. Health insurance disappears. Retirement plans freeze. Relationships strain under the weight of constant uncertainty. And because our culture worships risk takers, there's shame in admitting it didn't work out. These stories matter because they show the cost of chasing dreams without a net. One reason we rarely hear those stories is because of something called survivorship bias. We remember the winners, Bezos in his garage, Oprah getting fired, Jobs in his turtleneck. And we forget the thousands who tried just as hard but didn't make it. The quote, "If you don't build your dream," leans on this bias. It makes success seem like a mindset issue. Like belief alone is the secret sauce. But that's not how real life works. Markets shift. Timing matters. Some ideas just don't land. And some people simply don't have the resources to fail forward. When we only highlight the top 1%, we create the illusion that success is inevitable, as long as you want it badly enough. That illusion can be devastating. And for those who don't leap, there's guilt. The quote paints a clear binary, builders versus helpers. If you stay in a job, even one you like, you're told you're settling, you're afraid, you're just helping someone else live their dream. That framing creates internal pressure that's hard to escape. People begin questioning their value, even if they're financially secure, personally fulfilled, and thriving in their careers. The guilt isn't based on failure. It's based on a narrative that says stability is shameful. That being part of a team means you've given up. But that story isn't true. And it's hurting people who've done absolutely nothing wrong. Here's something we don't say enough. Not everyone wants to be a founder. And that's not a flaw. Some people are driven by craftsmanship, not capital. Others find deep joy in mentoring, teaching, building things without needing to own them. The startup world may glorify the solo founder myth, but real innovation often happens in teams, labs, studios, not in garages. The quote implies that if you're not chasing your own dream, you're wasting your potential. But for many, fulfillment comes from being part of something meaningful, even if it's not yours. That path deserves respect. Because building someone else's dream doesn't mean you've given up on your own. Not every job is just a paycheck for someone else's yacht. Some jobs and some companies are grounded in shared purpose. A teacher building a curriculum that changes lives, an engineer designing safer bridges, a nurse delivering care in a broken system. These people aren't building someone else's dream. They're contributing to something bigger than any one person. The quote oversimplifies reality. It assumes dreams are always individual, always entrepreneurial. But some of the most important work in the world isn't about ownership. It's about contribution. And the idea that your job only matters if your name is on the door, that's not wisdom. That's branding. There's a thin line between chasing a dream and falling into a trap. A dream can be liberating, full of purpose, creativity, and autonomy. But sometimes what we call a dream is just an escape hatch from boredom, frustration, or fear. We leave jobs not because we're pulled by passion, but because we're pushed by shame, convinced we're wasting our potential if we're not our own boss. The hustle becomes a grind. And suddenly, what started as freedom turns into self-exploitation. Longer hours, deeper debt, no boundaries, no boss, but also no safety net. The dream starts to resemble the very thing we ran from, only lonelier. What we need is clarity. to know the difference between building something meaningful and burning out while pretending it's all part of the plan. Maybe the real power isn't in building your dream at all. Maybe it's in choosing with intention. Choosing which dream is worth joining, which vision aligns with your values, your skills, your life. Not every good life begins with a blank slate or a business plan. Some begin with a great team, a shared mission, a steady role that lets you sleep at night. What if the real test of courage isn't walking away from a job, but walking toward what actually fulfills you, even if it's not flashy or loud? It's not about independence at any cost. It's about building a life that works for you. And sometimes that life comes from aligning with someone else's dream. As long as you choose it, it's still yours. If you don't build your dream, someone will hire you to help build theirs. It's catchy, but it's also incomplete, because life is more complex than ownership versus servitude. Here's a better version. If you don't build a life you value, no quote will save you. It's not about whose name is on the vision board. It's about agency, purpose, stability, joy. Maybe you build your own company. Maybe you help launch someone else's. Maybe you teach, raise kids, write on weekends, or lead a quiet, deeply meaningful life outside of work. What matters isn't the dream. It's whether you had the freedom to choose it, shape it, and stand behind it. That's the kind of success no one can take from you. It's worth asking, is your dream really yours? Or is it a filtered fantasy you picked up from Instagram, curated, commodified, and sold as success? Sometimes what we chase isn't a calling, but a brand. We want the cafe laptop life, the flexible schedule, the soft lighting, but do we want the actual work, the long nights, the bookkeeping, the risk? There's a difference between a dream that reflects your true values and one that performs them for an audience. Real dreams are rarely photogenic. They're often quiet, messy, built from experience, not aesthetics. If your dream isn't grounded in your skills, your needs, and your reality, it's not a dream. It's a delusion wearing designer quotes. Not all dreams have to pay your rent. Some people work jobs, good, stable jobs, and use that security to fund other passions. Music, writing, volunteering, raising kids, traveling. That's not failure, that's balance. It's adulthood. It's wisdom. There's freedom in realizing you don't need to monetize everything you love. And there's power in understanding that work can support your life, not define it. The idea that you must turn your passion into your profession is a modern myth, and it often leads to resentment, not fulfillment. There's another way. You can dream realistically. You can work sustainably, and you can live meaningfully even if no one puts it on a billboard. Joining someone else's vision doesn't mean you're small. It can mean you're wise. Not everyone needs to be the name on the building. Sometimes the real impact is made behind the scenes. Think about the engineers who got us to the moon, the animators who brought Pixar to life, the nonprofit staffers who quietly change lives every day. Their names aren't on the front page, but their fingerprints are everywhere. They didn't build the original dream, but they made it real. And many of them found purpose, challenge, and even freedom in that collaboration. There's a quiet power in helping bring something meaningful into the world, regardless of whose idea it was first. Some dreams are too big to build alone, and maybe that's the point. We romanticize the lone genius, the founder in the garage, the visionary who built it all by themselves. But it's a myth. Every so-called self-made success stands on layers of support, family, infrastructure, mentors, workers, investors. Even the most iconic startups didn't happen in a vacuum. They needed employees, suppliers, and systems. Independence sounds noble, but it can become isolating and unsustainable. Collaboration isn't weakness, it's reality. If your dream truly matters, it'll probably take more than one person to build. And that's not a flaw. That's how great things actually get made. Total independence might look heroic in a quote, but in life, it's just lonely. A dream isn't healthy just because it's yours. To be worth chasing, it should also be sustainable, values-driven, and built with margin. Can you work on it without sacrificing your mental or physical health? Does it reflect what you actually believe? Or just what looks good online? Does it leave room for rest, relationships, and the unexpected? We often ask, is it mine? But we should also ask, is it good for me? A dream that consumes you isn't empowerment, it's obsession. Real freedom comes not from owning the dream, but from designing a life where the dream fits, not the other way around. If you love your job, stay. If you like your team, your schedule, your structure, that's not settling. That might be success. You don't have to disrupt everything to live a meaningful life. The pressure to constantly level up, quit, or reinvent yourself can create false urgency. There's dignity in stability. There's peace in knowing your role and doing it well. You're not broken if you're not chasing a side hustle or launching something new every quarter. Sometimes the bravest move is to be fully present in the life you've already built and to protect it with intention. You shouldn't feel guilty for choosing a path that works for you. Too often, quotes like, "build your dream" or "someone else will hire you" are used to shame people into risk, not guide them toward meaning. But fear-based choices rarely lead to peace. When we choose out of panic or shame or the fear of falling behind, we tend to chase illusions. But when we choose from clarity, knowing who we are, what we need, and what matters, the path becomes more honest. Motivation is useful, but clarity is transformative. The goal isn't to prove something, it's to build something that lasts. It's time we stop measuring life in ownership and hustle. Those metrics are narrow, and they leave too many people feeling like failures when they're actually thriving. Instead, let's measure by alignment. Does this life reflect my values? By contribution, does my work add something meaningful? And by peace, can I sleep well at night knowing I'm not just surviving but living with purpose? The truth is, not everyone needs to build a dream from scratch. Some of us are already living a life worth keeping. The real challenge is seeing that clearly and honoring it. So as we wrap this up, maybe it's not about building your dream or someone else's. Maybe the real question is, what kind of life are you building? And does it actually work for you? If this video gave you something to think about, consider subscribing. Not because of the algorithm, but because these conversations matter and I'd love to keep having them with you. If you found a moment in here that hit close to home, give it a like. And more importantly, share your story in the comments. That's where the real depth happens. What do you think makes a dream worth chasing? Have you ever walked away from a goal, not because you failed, but because it no longer fit the life you actually wanted? And if you're curious how another popular quote, "fake it till you make it," went from a confidence trick to a billion-dollar disaster, check out my last video. It dives into the psychology behind it and how it helped fuel some of the biggest startup collapses in recent history. See you there.